Numerous professions in New Mexico require an occupational license. That includes contractors. I used to be a remodeling contractor. I can speak to that. Emergency medical personnel and cosmetologists. But a report by libertarian-leaning law firm says these laws are burdensome and a drag on the state's economy. Rob Nicoleski, you covered a talk given by the author of this report. And like I said, I've also worked in the construction business. This is another huge tension point. And we'll get into this a little bit about whether contractors specifically should be licensed or not. But give us the general sense of where he was coming from as you covered it.
Well, specifically in New Mexico, according to this report from the Institute for Justice, New Mexico has the 12th most burdensome number of occupational licenses. And that means you basically have to get permission from the state to be licensed to be a contractor, for example.
And a lot of times with a check, you write a check for that privilege too.
Right. And the study looked only at moderate to low income jobs. So they weren't looking at dentists or doctors, although they're against licensing for that as well. But here in New Mexico, for example, you need to have 2 years of training to repair a door. You need to have 2 years of training to install a security alarm. You need 2 full years, pass 2 exams, and pay $318 before you can operate road equipment or paving equipment. So their argument is that these things are overly burdensome, and they're basically a way to fence out competition, because once you're in and once you've gotten the license, a lot of times these licenses have been grandfathered in, that you're reducing people from working. I'll give you one example that they cite. In Arizona, there was a young man who lived in a neighborhood, and there were a lot of elderly people there, and they were having problems with rodents. And he noticed that you could put up a grate that would in various houses up on the roofs to keep rodents from coming in. He said he told a lot of the people in his neighborhood, I can come in there and do this for like $25. He got shut down because that was considered pest control, and he was not licensed to be a pest control.
Interesting. You know, Laura, I'm glad there's a mark here between doctors and all this kind of stuff and everybody else. Let's start with the premise about shutting out competition. Do you buy that as well? Is that part of the premise of licensing people?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm an attorney. I'm a licensed attorney. I think a very big part of any industry wanting to make sure they have a grasp on market competition. And in the case of lawyers, it's the issue of reciprocity in other states. So basically here in New Mexico, we don't allow reciprocity with other states, meaning if somebody's licensed somewhere else, we're not just going to give them a pass on our state bar here. I mean, these systems are designed often to control the market, and that's what makes places like California, at least for lawyers, California, New York, Texas, a much more difficult bar to pass because there's so many more lawyers. It becomes that much more difficult to pass a bar because they want to control the number of attorneys that get licensed there. I would expect it's the same way in most industries. Those who are in that industry have an interest in protecting their market share, so they want to make it more difficult. I understand that part of it. I do think that, you know, when I read this report, I felt like it was in some ways much ado about nothing, honestly, because this has been in place for a long time. These are issues that, you know, everybody has to deal with in their own particular sector. I think it's important that there be some occupational licensing for many of these. Perhaps, you know, I don't know the specifics of 2 years for a particular job or not, but I know that in the case of EMS personnel, for example, we want to make sure these folks are competent to be able to do their job, and if paying for a particular fee is a part of that, I think it's important that they go through that process.
Senator, that the idea that the public's being protected this way, is that still valid for you? You can have some confidence as a consumer that something is on the up and up if someone's licensed.
Well, the legislature is often drawn into this conversation, and the licensing system that we have now is a patchwork that has been built up over many years, and it has been built up by not only a concern to protect public health and safety, and that's the bottom line. That's what legislators should be doing and other public officials. But it's also come about because of all of the different groups, lawyers, doctors, coming to the legislature with a guild mentality, as Laura was describing in terms of lawyers. You know, they don't want to have reciprocity. They don't want to have lawyers who've been trained in another state. And And that's okay, in my view, in terms of lawyers. But we have real workforce shortages in some areas in this state, especially in the medical area. So when you have, dentists standing in the door and blocking up the road for dental therapists, dental hygienists, and others that are in desperate shortage in rural New Mexico, I think that that's really problematic.
Glad you threw that in, because Tripp, what interested me in this situation, the idea of certification versus being licensed. That's two vastly different things. There's a push that perhaps certification would be a good in-the-middle fix for this. What's your thought on that?
I want to, the senator mentioned this stuff about certification and whatnot,
Yeah.
and especially with healthcare.
Right.
Right. We're seeing this with the onset of the new federal health law, the health exchange, the lack of medical providers in rural, and the debate over mid-level professionals being
yes.
able to go in and do what doctors do.
That's right.
Or dentists do. Is certification a way of getting around this? I honestly, my approach is somewhat philosophical. There is no absolute answer here. You get rid of licenses, or you don't get
Right.
get rid of licenses.
Right.
There's going to be this tension point where, as a consumer, I'm probably going to want to know where I can go to check somebody's veracity.
Right.
At the
You
same
can go to
time,
the Better Business Bureau for
Better
that,
Bureau,
too.
Business Bureau. But I wonder if sometimes it's the requirements that need fixing instead of the licensing. 2 years to be trained for this, is that onerous? I'm
I'm going to finish this segment up. Just want to touch on what started with contracting. I happen to like the 2-year deal for a contractor, because the simple fact is we have a vast black market in the contracting business here in New Mexico of unlicensed contractors. And what ends up happening is it depresses what you could demand, depresses wages, depresses take-home pay, because you're always competing with unlicensed people who don't have to pay workman's comp, don't have to pay insurance, don't have to do this. They look at your bid and go, that's outrageous. You're going to take home 60% of that in your pocket. And they don't realize you take home about 5% because you have to pay everything else out. And it's an unfair fight with unlicensed folks, and that's a difficulty. And it affects the marketplace. That's my issue with it, not so much the actual licensing. I'm going to hold you there.
Okay.